Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, we are here for round number 2 of Season 11 at America's hometown track down in South Boston, Virginia. That, of course, is the South Boston Speedway, coming in at 0.4 miles or 0.64 kilometers in length. One of the trickier and, dare I say, a little bit more treacherous speedways we've had here on the circuit for the past couple of seasons. This is actually the track where we crowned our champion back in Season 8 and Season 9. Both those races, the checkered flag was taken home by Tyler McRae. But on top of that, here this evening, race fans, a little bit of exciting news. Currently, we have 15 drivers that have made the call to the starting grid here this evening. This is the largest field the league has had in over a year. The last race that saw this many drivers in attendance was back at the USA International Speedway in April 22nd of 2022. So definitely bound to be one heck of an exciting race here tonight. Whole lot of faces out there on the lineup here tonight. Bunch of drivers we've seen, some making their first starts of the season, some outright rookies in their own right, some that have been on hiatus for a little while but have made their return here this evening, and of course a whole lot of familiar faces as well. And it looks like here, doing just the last couple little bits of preparation before they make their way on down to the starting grid for round number 2 of season number 11. Tyler McRae, currently the only driver here that has taken home multiple wins at this speedway, and he's taken home 3 of them. The other winners we have here at this track: Connor Wagner, Brian Sabelski, Benjamin Harst, and Coy Hasselou. That said, though, drivers are making their way on down the starting grid, so how about we take a look down there and get a look at our starting lineup here for round number 2 of the season. Starting out on the pole of this thing, it's going to be the number 93 of Mr. Jason Gardner, the league admin himself, starting out at the front of this thing. And starting out to his outside, that's going to be the 62 of TJ Henson. I believe, last week she took on the pole at the North Wilkesboro Speedway, now starting in position number 2 here tonight. This rookie driver has shown some incredible speed so far this season. Back in position number 3, that's going to be the number 51 before Rules Gaming entry of Eric Gahn. Back in position number 4, that's going to be the 15 of Mr. Garrett Streets, one half of the SM Racing Products team, starting off in position number 4. 5th place could go back to the 4-time champion, the number 85 McConey Setup Shop entry. That's going to be Brian Sabelski, rounding out the top 5 here this evening. 6th place going to go back to the Justin Wilson Memorial, number 14 of Mr. Nico Morelli, followed by the 65 of Jason Mong, making his first start in a little while. Definitely great to see this driver back out here on the speedway. 8th place going to go back to the other half of the SM Racing Products team. That's going to be the 74 of Jeremy Morrow. 9th place going to go back to Mr. Johnny Bell in the Dirt TV 27, making his second start of the season and his second appearance in almost a year here in the league. Always great to see some returning faces out here. Johnny Bell last week had a DNF, unfortunately, at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Did not quite have the race finishing the way he wanted to go, so perhaps tonight will be a fresh start for him. He's going to be starting off in position number 9. 10th place going to go back to the 78 of Mr. Derek Murphy in the Woo Car entry, followed by the number 55 of Mr. Nick Cashman, rounding out position number 11, another rookie driver here this season. He's starting back in position number 11. 12th place going to go back to the 5 machine, the Buffalo Bills entry of Curtis Prince, making his, I believe, first start here in the league. Another rookie driver out here tonight. 13th place going to go back to the number 1 machine of Mr. Bill Watkins. That's going to be the Dodge entry, starting back in position 13, followed by the number 2 of Patrick Dixon, the Advanced Auto Parts entry. And finally, round out the field here, another rookie driver. That's going to be the 17 of Caleb Sloan in the Coors Light entry. 15 drivers have made the call to the field here this evening. 15 drivers going to be kicking things off here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Green flag up in the air, and we have drivers 2 by 2 by 2 all throughout the field, and already caution flag out on the speedway. Looks like the number 27, the Dirt TV entry of Johnny Bell, is going to go around just like that. A little bit of damage to the right front, but nothing too bad. And also some damage to the 17 of Caleb Sloan. Let's see if we can't take a look back here and see what all just happened to these two drivers. Coming to the green here, Johnny Bell down there in that 27 Dirt TV entry. Everyone gets it rolling, and oh, just a little bit of a checkup right on the start. That collects the 17, and I'm not quite sure who was right behind him to get on that restart, but just like that, right on the start of the checkered flag, caution flag gonna fly here. Let's take another look back here at that. Johnny's right behind the 65 of Jason Mon, and there's a little bit of a checkup, and that actually looks like the 17 of Caleb Sloan got a little bit of damage picked up there as well. Let's see if we can't take a look back. Maybe get a little bit of a better camera angle than that one for us here, race fans. One last look at that. And no, that's actually the Elevate number 5 that caught the rear end of Johnny Bell there. A couple of unfortunate bystanders involved, but that's just a little bit of the chaos that South Boston Speedway tends to bring. Let's ride on board with the Elevate number 5 of Curtis Prince. Just like that, bit of a hard incident into the outside wall to kick things off here this evening. Of course, now caution flags do count here in the ASRC Oval Series once again, so these laps will be counting towards the overall duration of tonight's event. Jason Gardner still being scored up at the front of this thing. TJ Henson still starting position number 2, but everyone else all throughout the rest of the field's gotten themselves all jumbled up now. Garrett Street's up a couple of spots. Nico Morelli up a couple of spots. Eric Gahn now back to 5th place. Jeremy Morrow up several positions as well. Brian Sabelski now finding himself outside of the top 5 once we get this thing rolling once again. Lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, though. We're going to try this thing as a single file restart. Green flag up in the air. Jason Gardner leads the field down into turn number 1, and he actually gets a pretty solid start. Everyone fairly strung out here, battling side by side. Further back in the field, Nick Cashman side by side with that looks like the 17 of Caleb Sloan. Of course, down on the track, that's the number 5 Elevate entry, so it looks like the 5 and the 17 may have gotten their paint scheme switched around here, but this is, on our timing and scoring, actually the 55 of Nick Cashman. So there's a bit of confusion everywhere here for these drivers as the second caution flag comes out on the speedway. And this time around, it looks like it is going to be for the 17 of Caleb Sloan in the Coors Light entry, spun around just like that. Only 10 laps in the books, and our second caution flag on the speedway. Let's see if we can't take a look here, see what happened to the driver of the Coors Light entry. Heading down into turns 1 and 2. Actually, no, this is 3 and 4, and just gets loose coming out of 4. Finds himself down on the inside wall, backs it up a little bit, and brings it to a stop to let the rest of the field come by. So just like that, caution flag number 2 out on the speedway here tonight. Let's see if we can't maybe get another view of what brought out this second caution. Just a single car incident here, got a little bit down on that apron, and that was enough to get the tar just slightly unsettled, just enough to get it spun around here this evening. So second caution flag here on the speedway tonight. That will be putting Caleb Sloan a lap down. Johnny Bell still on the lead lap despite that initial incident. I'm not quite sure if he got the lucky dog or if he managed to stay on the lead lap there, but he is currently being scored back in the 13th position. Our front row, still Jason Gardner and TJ Henson up at the front of things here this evening. Gardner looking to get his first win in, I want to say, about 3 seasons here in that Pontiac number 93. Not a manufacturer you normally see riding on board these late model stock cars, but you know what? He's making that Pontiac work for him here this evening. 13 laps currently in the book. I would imagine we are going to be having another single file restart here since we didn't get a full green flag lap completed from the looks of things. Sure enough, lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, and it does look like we are actually going to be lining them up 2 by 2 here. So we will be having a double file restart this time by, it's going to be Gardner and Henson, then Streets and Morelli. Morrow and Gone, your 3 front rows. And the iRacing.com pace car gonna pull on down to the safety of pit lane. Let's try this thing one more time. Green flag up in the air. An amazing start for Jason Gardner. Everyone's just kind of having to fall in line back behind him. Gardner up to a pretty solid lead. We're looking at the battle for second here between Garrett Streets and TJ Henson. 2 by 2 back for second and third. Nico Morelli is getting involved in this battle as well. Morelli started this race back outside the top 5, and here he is battling it out to try and find himself in the podium. Of course, easier said than done. We're only 17 laps into tonight's event. Still a whole lot of racing left to go at this 0.4-mile-long speedway. But right now, a lot of these drivers showing a whole lot of speed early on. A little bit further back in the back, Nick Cashman currently battling it out with the 85 of Mr. Brian Sabelski here. Sabelski's once again finding himself outside the top 5 despite having a really solid qualifying position here tonight. And actually, he did manage to take home the win last week at the North Wilkesboro Speedway, now having to find himself on the outside of the top 5 looking in. Both these drivers going to get around the 51 of Eric Gahn, though. He's gotten himself a little bit stuck up on the high line, and I'll tell you what, this is not a speedway where you want to find yourself on the high line and get freight trained by these late model drivers. Eric Gahn now finding himself back in 8th. He's getting the pressure put on him by, that looks like the 65 of Jason Mong. Mong and Gahn, 2 drivers that we haven't seen here in ASRC Oval Series in a couple of weeks now, and big checkup as caution flags back out on the speedway. That looks like the 17 Coors Light entry of Caleb Sloan is around, and a little bit of confusion out here on the speedway as everyone tries to get themselves pointed back around in the right direction. Let's see if we can't take a look back here and see what brought out this caution flag. And our cameras are saying that it looks like Sloan and Bell were the 2 drivers involved here. Sloan in that 17, Johnny Bell in the 27, and oh, a little bit of checkup there for Sloan, and Bell got right into the left rear quarter panel just like that. Taking a look back here, see if we can't get a better view. Let's take a top-down view from our blimp camera that we have here at the South Boston Speedway. I don't know how South Boston afforded a blimp, but that's not our problem, race fans. You can see the 27 of Johnny Bell. Down on the low line, there's a little bit of contact up in front of him, and Sloan slows down just a little bit, and Bell could just not get that car stopped in time. So that's going to be sending Caleb Sloan down onto pit lane, and looks like Johnny Bell might be finding himself down there as well. Our front row, still the same drivers we've seen before though. Jason Gardner and TJ Henson still going to be ones making the front row work. But now we find Nico Morelli up inside the top 3 in that number 14 Justin Wilson Memorial entry. Morelli having one heck of a run here tonight. 25 laps in the books on caution number 3 here. I'm starting to wonder with these caution flags. We've got 25 laps in the books. 15 of them have been under caution, or at least will have been once we go green flag racing again. And that starts to get close to putting these drivers in the good on fuel mileage. This might be the first time in a long while we've seen drivers try and make a zero-stop race happen with a little bit of a chance of success here. Lights are off on the iRacing.com pace car though. We're going to try this thing once again. Jason Gardner, TJ Henson, the front row. Nico Morelli, Jeremy Morrow, row number 2. Eric Gahn, Brian Sabelski, row number 3. We're going to try this thing one more time, race fans. 2 by 2, iRacing.com pace car is off. And we're going green flag racing here at the South Boston Speedway once again. Solid run by all these drivers down into turns 1 and 2, but Gardner again going to have a really solid advantage here as we have some drivers beating and banging a little bit further back in the back. TJ Henson falling back to position number 3 in that 62 race car's entry. Brian Sabelski right behind her. He had a little bit of a wiggle coming out of the corner. Just like that, Sabelski finds himself up inside the top 5 once again. I feel like it was only moments ago he was back in 7th, but now here he is up in 4th, battling to try and get into the podium. He is currently our championship leader by about 4 points here tonight. He wants to try and make it another win to keep that advantage up. It's Garrett Streets right behind him in the championship standings, who is currently being scored down a lap back in position number 11. So as long as Sabelski can stay ahead of that number 15 machine, he doesn't have to worry too much about the championship standings. But right now everything is so close together. We only have one race in the books. Everything is so close together that everyone really needs to just scramble for whatever positions they can get early on in this season. Because I'll tell you what, we're going to be on round 11 and 12 way sooner than anyone really expects it to be happening. That said, as we cross the line on to lap number 33, a third of the way through tonight's event, 2 drivers currently have retired. Johnny Bell and Curtis Prince both have retired from tonight's event. That leaves 10 cars on the lead lap, 3 drivers currently being scored lap down, and of course, now that we have disabled caution laps not counting, lucky dogs are on the table for these drivers to be earning again. So Streets' race is not over. Murphy's race also not over, though getting 4 laps back through lucky dogs is going to be really difficult to pull off. But you never know. We've had 2 cautions so far. Maybe we'll just end up with 5 more. I don't want to jinx anything for these race car drivers though. Having a heck of a race here at the South Boston Speedway. Currently looking at the closest battle on the track. That's going to be the battle between Jason Mong, Jeremy Morrow, and Nick Cashman. Call it about 0.3 of a second between each of these drivers. Cashman falling back a little bit there. He's got it now up to about 0.6 of a second. He is definitely falling back from Morrow and Mong. Cashman down into the inside wall. Cashman got loose out of the corner, ended up on the inside wall. Little bit of damage to the left front, but still keeping that number 55 or 5 as it appears on his livery pointed in the right direction. That is going to cost him a little bit of time though. Went from about 0.3 of a second between himself and Jason Mong, now back to 1.5 seconds. And it looks like Morrow trying to make a move. There's that lapped car of Caleb Sloan in the 17, currently 7 laps down, up on the high line there, trying to let all of these drivers on by. He does not want to get involved in any more drama. And it looks like Nico Morelli might have had a bit of trouble there. TJ Henson made the pass on him without much difficulty. Now Henson finds herself up in the 2nd position right now. Still 1 0.8 seconds back from Jason Gardner. Making that ground up is not going to be an easy task. Only 42 laps in the books though, still got plenty of time left in tonight's event to make a pass happen. But that's going to be really difficult to do. Right now, Jason Gardner is posting lap times nearly a tenth of a second faster than Henson or Morelli. Actually, the only driver that set a comparable lap time last time by is going to be Brian Sabelski, back in position number 4 with a 15.26. And now Sabelski is trying to look to make the pass on Nico Morelli. Morelli maybe has used up his tires a little bit more than he would like, because he is losing ground on the top 2 pretty dang handily. A little bit of a scrape against the outside wall there as well for that 14 machine. A little bit of a bobble. And now the rest of the pack is closing in on him. Sabelski, Morrow, Mong, and Cashman are all right there. That 78 of Derek Murphy also in the mix, but unfortunately he is being scored 5 laps down at the moment after that second caution flag in the blue car entry. Only 2 positions down from where he qualified despite it all though, so not a complete loss of the evening, but not the position he wanted to find himself in coming into tonight's event. Sabelski going to get the nose down on Nico Morelli though. Morelli stuck up on the high line. He's going to have to get filed in behind Sabelski pretty dang quick, or he is going to get freight trained by Morrow and Mong. Morrow in that 74 machine kind of riding the middle line here. He wants to see which of these 2 drivers is going to make the mistake. Which one is he going to be able to follow behind? And sure enough, Morelli's going to go up to the high line, and that's going to allow Morrow and Mong to go down there and try and make the pass. Morrow side by side with that 14 machine. He is doing everything in his power to try and hang on here. And that 65, that is Jason Mong just trying to ride along with the hole that has been created. And sure enough, just like that, Nico Morelli has been filtered outside the top 5, but now he has a little bit of breathing room. 2 seconds back between Morelli and Eric Gahn. And he does have that lap car of Derek Murphy in between them as well to work as a little bit of a shield should any of those drivers catch back up. Still the closest battle on the speedway here is the battle between Jeremy Morrow and Jason Mong. These 2 drivers have been setting incredibly similar lap times for the past several laps here. Let's see how it looks as they cross the line this time by. And it looks like Mong is going to slightly have the advantage. Let's wait for the update here. Last time by 0.003 of a second divide these 2 drivers, but again, Jason Mong slightly faster than Morrow in terms of lap time. So if he can keep this up, he can try and close that gap, maybe find himself up inside the 4th position. And Brian Sabelski is right there too. Sabelski has to worry about these 2 drivers behind him as well, and Sabelski's actually almost scraped up against the outside line for a second there. Sabelski has the pressure going on here. Trying to hold on in that Makoni setup shop number 85, trying to keep himself inside the podium. 2 seconds back from TJ Henson, who was another 2 seconds back from our race leader. So the field's starting to get fanned out here just a little bit. Everyone just trying to work with what they've got for the long haul of this race. It looks like everyone's more or less got themselves cleaned up. Not really any risk of any more cautions here. And if that is the case, then we will see some green flag pit cycles, I think. Not quite enough laps have been spent under yellow for these drivers to make it to the end. I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone will have to take at least a little bit of a splash. With 60 laps in the books, we might just see some drivers gamble on it. Further back in the back, though, another battle happening between Nick Cashman and Bill Watkins here. Watkins in that Dodge Steelers number 1. Cashman in the number 5 Elevate entry, though of course on our time this morning he is coming up as the 55. And Cashman a little bit of scrape against the outside wall there. And both of them trying to catch up to Patrick Dixon And Dixon currently is our most improved driver so far this evening right now. Up 6 positions from where he qualified in that number 2 Advanced Auto Parts entry. Holding on to that, though, is going to be the real challenge, though, because Watkins and Cashman both are catching up to him, and he's actually going to go ahead and pull it on down to pit lane here. So he will be our first driver making a green flag pit stop here this evening. The only driver on the lead lap right now that has made a pit stop is Nick Cashman, and actually a bit of trouble for Dixon. Looks like he drove past his pit stall, so that's going to cost him some extra time down on pit lane. Further up in the field, though, still looking at the battle between Morrow and Mong, both of them duking it out with each other and both trying to catch up to Brian Sabelski. Really, I think both of them are doing Sabelski a favor here. As long as both of them keep battling it out, Sabelski can have a little bit of breathing room because they are just slowing each other down here. They're going to have to work together and cooperate if they want to catch up to that Makoni Setup Shop number 85 machine. As we come through 3 and 4 here, let's see how the timing and scoring sorts out. Sabelski a 15.86, Morrow a 15.72. So Mong and Morrow are actually both gaining on Sabelski by about 1/10 of a second here. Well, 67 laps in the books. The clock is ticking. Not a lot of room left to gamble with here. I mean, after all, we are setting 15-second lap times here. That is 4 laps a minute. We are going to get through these last 30 laps in no time flat. So these drivers really have to work with what they've got here. But currently the closest battle on the speedway is the battle between these 3 drivers, Sabelski, Morrow, and Mong. All with about 0.2 of a second between each of them. All very similar lap times, and all of them taking slightly different lines from each other. Morrow closing the distance there, almost thinking about putting the bumper to Sabelski, but not quite committing to it. Last time by, a 15.79 for Sabelski, a 15.79 for Mong, and a 15.78 for Morrow. These 3 drivers are setting nearly identical lap times, and all of them are going to advance a position as TJ Henson makes the call to be the next driver to do green flag pit stops. And our race leader of Jason Gardner also going to be coming on down to pit lane here. So it looks like green flag pit cycles are still going to be the play for these late model drivers. Not enough time spent under caution to make the 0 stop strategy happen. And with that being sorted out, that will leave Brian Sabelski as our race leader. So he will be picking up a bonus point here this evening for having at least 1 lap led to his name. And I'd imagine with Morrow and Mong right behind him, they might try and see if they can save an extra lap on Sabelski, try and pick up that lead lap bonus for themselves as well. Every bonus point you can pick up is another step further to a championship here in season number 11. And even if this is round number 2, you gotta start your progress to the top early. Because if you don't do it now, you might not have the opportunity to do it later on in the season. As we cross the line, though, going to be 25 laps left to go here at the South Boston Speedway. Brian Sabelski currently being scored as your race leader. And drivers nose to tail back in the back here as everyone tries to filter their way out of pit lane, get themselves sorted out, get the track position worked out. Jason Mong has fallen back a little bit from Jeremy Morrow. Caution flag out on the speedway for the 4th time here this evening. And it looks like it is trouble for Nick Cashman, who has already taken the tow back to pit lane. So let's take a look back here, see if we can't bring out what caused caution flag number 4 here this evening. Trying to take a look back at where Nick Cashman is. Sure enough, there he is in the number 55 or number 5 Elevate entry, depending on where you look. Heading down into 3 and 4, and oh, just a little bit of that same incident we saw happen to Sloan. Little bit too hot coming out of 4, and just got the rear end slipped out on him. Tried to take the tow back to pit lane, tried to get off the speedway before the caution flag but could be flown, but not quite quick enough here tonight in that Elevate number 5 machine. So just like that, we're going to be racking these drivers up once again, just see where things line out here tonight. Jason Mong now being scored as our race leader here this evening, so he will be picking up a bonus point for leading a lap here tonight. Most likely, if I had to wager a guess, trying to stay out to pick up that lap-led bonus point, which he now officially has as we cross the line here. And that leaves both him, Eric Gahn, and Bill Watkins as the only 3 drivers who have not made a pit stop yet. Sabelski's came down, Morrow's come down, Gardner's come down, Streets is actually coming down right now, as well as Derek Murphy, though Murphy is still being scored a couple of laps down here this evening. What a crazy race it has been here so far at the South Boston Speedway, though, race fans. And sure enough, nope, Jason Mong is still staying out here. I'm curious just how hard these 3 late model drivers are gambling. Are they going to try and make this on a 0-stop race? They're going to have to play their cards really perfectly here tonight if they want to make that happen, but that looks like that is exactly what they are trying to do. And I mean, really the best thing I can say is good luck to them, because the lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car. We're trying this thing again one way or another. Jason Mong and Eric Gahn going to be your 2 drivers on the front row. Then it's going to be Bill Watkins and Brian Sabelski, Jeremy Morrow, and Jason Gardner. Let's get this show on the road. 19 to go. Going to be 18 when we cross the line. Green flag up in the air. An amazing start for Jason Mong, but we're 2 by 2 further back in the field. And that number 1 of Bill Watkins is going to get around Jeremy Morrow. Now the driver to beat is going to be Brian Sabelski in that 85 once again, finding himself up inside the final podium position. Morrow's not going to be playing it patient here this evening, though. Tried to pull it alongside Bill Watkins, not quite able to. He's going to try it here again, down coming out of 4. Has to lift off a little bit, not quite the room he needs to make it happen. And Brian Sabelski right up in front is going to try and make the move on Eric Gahn. He's going to make it happen as Gahn drifts up high just a little bit. And now Sabelski finds himself up in position number 2 as Gahn starts to fall back. And we're 2 by 2 further back in the field for drivers that are currently a lap down. Nico Morelli and TJ Henson battling it out, both trying to find themselves in the lucky dog position in case another caution flag comes out here this evening. If that caution flag comes out, it will be the saving grace of one of these 2 late model drivers, Nico Morelli or TJ Henson. Both of them a lap down. Both of them need to be in that magic position to try and get a lap back, but all of that hinges on if a caution flag ends up coming out. And we're 2 by 2 further up in the field. Bill Watkins, Jeremy Morrow battling it out. They make contact. Jason Gardner is just behind the 2 of them. He does not want to see that happening. 2 by 2 still coming out of 3 and 4. And Watkins is going to have to fall back a little bit, stuck up on the outside line. Jason Gardner is going to filter past, so is Nico Morelli. But again, Morelli not on the lead lap here. He is currently a lap down. That is also going to allow TJ Henson to get by, but Henson also a lap down, continuing that battle for the lucky dog position. With 11 laps left to go, going to be the big double high five up in the air when we cross the line. 10 laps left to go here at the South Boston Speedway. Currently looking at the closest battle on the track between Jeremy Morrow and Jason Gardner for position number 4 here. Gardner's really trying to get that late model down low on the speedway. Try and figure out a way to make something happen. A little bit of cross up there. Gardner almost getting into the rear end of that number 74 machine. He is really pushing it here this evening with 9 laps left to go, and they are 2 by 2 again for the lucky dog position as well. Once again, Morelli and Henson are duking it out 2 by 2 for the 7th position, trying to find themselves in the preferred spot in case that caution flag comes out. 7 laps left to go here on the speedway. And right now, Henson is going to be the driver that has the advantage in this battle for the lucky dog position. Morelli's starting to fall back just a little bit. And it looks like that might be all Morelli has to offer for this battle right here. Looking back up, still the battle going on here between Morrow and Gardner. 0.2 of a second dividing these two late model drivers. Big high five up in the air. 5 laps left to go. These late model drivers have to get this thing sorted out one way or another. If the caution flag were to fly, there of course are lucky or green-white checkered attempts. I'll tell you what, I would imagine that nobody on this speedway except TJ Henson wants a caution flag to fly right now. Still the closest battle on the speedway, the battle between Gahn, Morrow, and Gardner, all duking it out here. And it looks like Morrow is closing the distance on Eric Gahn. Gahn's really have to hold on for these last 3 laps. They're nearly 2 by 2. Sure enough, a little bit of wiggle out of Gahn, and now Morrow is going to pull alongside. They make contact. They make contact again coming out of 4. Morrow's going to have to fall back a little bit, and Gardner's going to try and make the pass stick on the outside with 2 laps left to go. I don't think he's quite going to be able to make that happen. Maybe he is. These 3 drivers are all pushing with everything they've got, nearly thinking about taking it 3 wide, and Jason Gardner really loose coming out of 4. Now 2 by 2 for position number 2 as the white flag flies on the speedway, and Jeremy Morrow's around. Morrow's around, and the rest of the field tries to soar by to the best of their ability, and that's going to allow Jason Mong to pick up position number 2. Jason Gardner in position number 3. That's going to filter Morrow all the way back to 4th, just like that. And that is some heavy, heavy damage on the 74 machine. But Brian Sabelski, against all odds, finding himself all the way down to 8th at one point here this evening. Going to be the driver who takes home the checkered flag for the 2nd time here this season in the Makoni Setup Shop number 85. And he will be furthering himself in the championship standings. The real question is, will he be able to make that late model burn out the way he wants it to? He's trying to make it happen. Maybe not quite what he's going for here this evening. He's going to pull it on down low. We see him trying to go for it here. He's thinking about it. He brings it to a stop. There's a car in the way. It can't do a burnout there. Pulls it back around. Are we going to get a burnout out of the number 85? He's trying to make it happen. He's thinking about it. He might make it happen. He's got the engine revved. And there we go. Brian Sabelski, 4-time champion here in the ASRC Oval Series, now finding himself 2-time winner back-to-back here in season number 11. That said, race fans, don't go anywhere. We will be back here in just a moment with some words with your top 3 finishers. We'll be back in just a second, race fans. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to the South Boston Speedway and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Up here in the booth with me, two-time winner Mr. Brian Sabelski. I don't know about you, but I don't think we had anything that went down here tonight on our bingo cards for this evening.
Nope. I did not. I thought it would maybe go green for a bit. We'd have a nice long run. We did have a run there for a while. I didn't know how many cautions we would get. And that last one was kind of like, I didn't need it. Looking at what my tires were at after the stop and looking at how many laps were left and what I had fuel-wise and how I was saving, I was good to the end. I would have been just barely able to make it, but you take that when you can take it, and we popped back out fourth, and I knew I was going to be faster than Jason Long and Eric there at the end, so that all I had to do was basically just kind of bide my time. I had 20 laps to work with. I was going to get around them if I was patient, and yeah.
Well, you certainly seem to make it happen here tonight, despite all the chaos that we brought into the field. South Boston Speedway, a track that you have taken the win at before all the way back in season number 5. So tonight we'll be making you the second driver to have multiple wins at this speedway. How you feel now that everything's said and done?
Well, I'm happy. Obviously, when you get the win, you're happy, and you just kind of you want to do the best job you can. Go out there and represent everybody well, and represent the league well, and represent yourself well. And yeah, I just knew, like, all I knew on that what was the last restart was like, man, if we could just go green the end here, I got fresh tires. Guys up front don't. They may still have to save some fuel to get to the end, and I just can rocket around them if I get the position. I don't have to be super aggressive. I just need to be smart about it.
Well, one way or another, you definitely made it happen here tonight, furthering your lead in the championship standings. I don't quite have the math for how much. Next week, though, Langley Speedway, another track with, dare I say, a little bit of a reputation. How you feel heading on over there next week?
It'll be interesting. I know Cars Tour is just at Langley. My hope is that with us, we don't run into the same problem they had at Langley where the lights go out in the middle of the race. I want to avoid that, please. Thank you. But yeah, it's a flat track. It's very different from all pretty much of the tracks that we race in this league. It doesn't have that banking. You're not really rolling it the same. It's a lot more demanding, especially on the tires. So it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see how that shakes out next week. I don't have there's no guarantees like, oh, I'm going to win next week or I'm going to finish dead last or something like that. It's just one of those tracks, this league is very, it's a lot closer than I thought it would be. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's getting to the point where it's going to get closer and closer and closer. So,
well, that might be a little bit of scary news for y'all, but that's exciting for me up in the broadcast booth, and I'm sure everyone that's tuning into these races will be pleased to hear that Langley will be quite the race one way or another.
I think it'll be quite the show one way or another.
That said, though, 2 wins to your name. I don't want to keep you here all night because I know you got some prep work to do for next week. So the microphone's all yours, Mr. Sabelski. Who you want to thank for making it happen here this evening?
Yep. Just going to say thanks, of course, to my wonderful sponsor, Coney Setup Shop, official setup shop of eNASCAR, and sponsor of the CFX official series on iRacing. They do a great job. Great group of people there. They've helped me get a little bit faster. But yeah, I want to thank, of course, SM Racing for doing the wonderful job of sponsoring our lovely series. Really appreciate it. I also want to thank Jason for doing all the hard admin work for this, and ASRC for hosting. And just shout outs to all of the charities I work with. Take This, Pause Your Game. Probably more to come over the summer here. So, yeah, catch me on Twitch. I'll be streaming probably for a little bit here. I got a couple more things to do before I head off for tonight.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep, I'll be here. See you then.
And finishing back in position number 2, Mr. Jason Mong looks unfortunately like he is not able to come out for an interview here this evening. So we're going to head straight on back to the 3rd position with the other Jason, Mr. Jason Gardner, taking home a podium here in round number 2. You had a podium last week as well. Quite the start to the season, I'd say. How are you feeling here tonight?
Well, I can't say nothing bad about a third place. And yeah, I'm not talkative right now. I'm still a little winded, especially after that final 5 laps.
Yeah, that was definitely quite the event from everyone involved. That was probably one of the most chaotic finishes we've seen to a race here in the league in a long while. So I'd imagine all of y'all are pretty tuckered out after that one. But what a heck of a race it's been.
Yeah, it was beginning part of the race. It was a slow start with all those cautions, but after we kind of got settled in, started getting a groove, started running laps, I was pulled away from the field, but and I guess when I went in to get 2 tires and fuel, I just luck wasn't on my side because caution came out shortly after.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there, but I guess that's just sometimes the luck of the draw, especially at these shorter tracks like this one. And speaking of pretty dang short tracks next week, Langley Speedway. How you feeling heading into that speedway next week?
I feel a little bit confident. I've been working on trying to get better at these late models. Trying to work on my pace. I've been working on it all last week for South Boston, and it really showed. Right there, I managed to get the pole, managed to lead most of the laps. Just bad luck. I was with that pit stop. But hopefully, come at Langley, my luck will turn around, and I'll finally get that win.
Yeah, we still got a long season ahead of us, so opening it up this strong, I think you definitely can make it happen. For now, though, the microphone's all yours, Mr. Gardner. Who do you want to thank for getting up here this evening?
I'd like to thank the sponsor of the series, SM Racing Products. And I also like to thank everybody who is out there watching, plus everybody who came and raced today. And I also like to thank you for broadcasting.
Good deal. Well, as always, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Langley.
I look forward to see you next week as well.
So you heard it here first, race fans. Words from your top 3 finishers here tonight, or at least 2 of the 3 of them. Brian Sabelski, Jason Mong, and Jason Gardner, your top 3 finishers here at the South Boston Speedway. That said, we had a whole heck of a race all throughout the field here, so how about we take a look at the rest of our standings here tonight, at least as they stand right now. Of course, these aren't official, but as we have things looking right now, Jeremy Morrow, after that final lap incident, is going to be the driver that finishes back in position number 4. Eric Gahn going to round out the top 5 in the 51 machine. Bill Watkins going to bring it back home, position number 6, followed by TJ Henson back in 7th. Nico Morelli back in 8th, followed by Garrett Streets and Derek Murphy in the Woo Car 78, rounding out the top 10 here this evening. 11th, going to go back to the 17 of Caleb Sloan, followed by Patrick Dixon in the number 2, Nick Cashman in the 55, Johnny Bell in the 27, finishing back 14th, and Curtis Prince rounding out this 15-car field, the largest field we have had in a year, in about 3 months. What a heck of an event it has been here this evening, race fans. Of course, a big thank you from me up here in the booth. A big thank you from everyone affiliated with the ASRC Oval Series to all of you who come out and support the league every week and tune into some awesome racing action. We look forward to seeing you all next week at the Langley Speedway. Of course, same day, same time, Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And to those of you who are interested in competing here in the ASRC Oval Series, you're welcome to join at any point in the season. You just got to head on over to the ASRC League page on iRacing. And that's just about it. But for now, race fans, thank you all for tuning in. We will all see you next week at the Langley Speedway. Have a good evening, race fans.